Welcome to LSC. It's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Terry Vann, former football player over at Bethel High School, played for Kozlowski. Welcome, Terry. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Well, let's go back, because you grew up in Hampton playing ball at Aberdeen?
Actually, Mallory.
Mallory,
we played
okay.
over at Mallory. I grew up in Aberdeen. So.
Okay, so playing at Mallory, you played not just one sport. You're the kind of guy that plays a lot of sports,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about, you played baseball.
Played baseball.
Were you a pitcher, catcher, what?
I actually was a catcher.
Oh, I don't know why.
Yeah, played catcher in left field.
Okay.
Played that for a while.
You remember who your coach was?
Mr. Parker was one of
Okay.
my coaches. Mr. Parker, Ernest Parker. He was around here for a while. He ended up moving back out to the Chicago area.
Okay.
Coach Westfall, who coached over there for a while, and they were the coaches I had for the previous time.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also play basketball.
Played basketball. Played for Coach Parker again. Yeah,
Okay.
in basketball.
So he was just kind of whatever.
Yeah, he was really involved with kids.
Well, who were some of the guys that you played with back then? Do you remember?
Football, most time with Rodney Howard. We played football together. We pretty much played football throughout our whole career together, really. That's one of the bigger names. Darren Fullwood, Darren Fullwood. Those are some of the names.
What position did you play in football?
When I first started playing football, when we showed up and was all out there getting helmets and all that stuff, and the coach asked us, say, hey, what position you like to play? And of course, everybody want to play running back, quarterback, something like that.
That's what you said.
And I said, running back. So we went through, our regular practices for a while, and eventually we started lining up positions, and Coach Fullwood was my coach, and he lined me up at guard, and lined Rodney Howard up lined me up tackle, lined Rodney Howard up at guard. So we
on
both
the same side of the ball?
On the same side. So we both looking at each other like, I'm the guard, you the tackle, man. And we're the two smallest guys on the team. Something ain't right with this picture. So, we went through the day, and after practice, I said, hey, Coach, I played tackle all day, and I thought I told you I'm a running back. And he looked at me and said, well, today you're a tackle, and that's the position I have for you, a tackle. So went a few practices playing tackle, and eventually I asked the question again. He said, well, you started tackle, and then eventually you make it work to the tailback or running back. But if you want to play, you want to learn, this is where you play. So I accepted it, and we played that whole season as a guard tackle.
On the line?
On the line.
Well, when did you get to go to quarterback?
Playing quarterback came a few years later by accident, really. I wasn't going out for the quarterback at that point in time. I ended up running the ball some, playing fullback, and ended up under Coach Mert Hope. He played for Bethel at his days. And he was looking for a quarterback, and he threw me in there. He said, Vann, I know you pretty much, I know you probably can run. I know you used to go to all the games and your family and all, and see what you can do. And we ran the option then. And pretty much
what Bethel ran.
Yeah, pretty much same thing as Bethel ran. He played for Bethel under Kozlowski, and we ran a wishbone.
Okay. And, and who did you emulate?
Probably Mike Dunn. Mike Dunn was really before his time. I'm looking back now.
Right.
You have the guy, was it San Francisco, what's his name, the quarterback, the 49ers.
The one who was
the San Francisco 49er quarterback. If you remember Mike Dunn back in the day, he had the same type of mechanics, could throw the ball. Kaepernick, yes. Right. He had that mechanics, and you see now a lot of the quarterbacks that can run and throw the ball. He pretty much had those mechanics. But
right. Well, Mike Dunn was more of a triple option. Didn't do that much passing because Koz didn't pass
exactly.
that much.
Exactly. When he got up to Duke, followed him up to Duke, he actually has some records still at Duke in passing.
Right.
So he was able to go up there.
Well,
and
he
pass
was a
the
good
ball.
athlete.
Exactly.
And, played basketball for me and had great eye-hand coordination.
Oh, yeah.
And so being a basketball player, he put the touch on the ball,
Exactly.
passing the ball.
Exactly.
So you basically, by watching him and all, you kind of learn that position, and then when your coach says here, and then of course he could kind of fine tune you.
Exactly, and it kind of went along and picked up the position that way, and played it for 2 years. Actually, and I actually played on the other side of the ball, defense also.
Well, talk about how you got to Mallory, because I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, was at Mallory. Aberdeen didn't have a team. They had this. They didn't have a team those years, and playing at Mallory. Then Mallory ended up being combined with Northampton.
Right.
So we went from Mallory over to Northampton, and that was kind of like a rivalry for us at that time.
All of a sudden you're on the same team.
On the same team as a rivalry, yeah, exactly. Same team as a rivalry. So we went over there, and never forget, we was on the sideline. We were sitting there waiting to practice, and pretty much we were getting a lot of time. And that evening, Coach Inkerminas, Big Ink, he pulls up to practice in a Pinto. A blue Pinto.
Wait a minute now. This guy had to weigh 300 pounds.
He was 300 pounds. He pulled up in Pinto, so that took our eye. Like, wow, this guy got on a Pinto.
How did he get in that
Pinto? But yeah, he came over. He was one of the coaches. He came over and he asked who we were and what we were doing. And he said, you guys been playing? We said no. And he pretty much was a defensive coach at Northampton. So he said, okay, well, I can get you on the defensive side. Let's see what you all can do. And he put us out there, and he lined us up, and from that day on, we were starting the defense. So, and I actually started from as a linebacker. Okay. I was middle linebacker. I ended up being the defensive
Were you still
captain.
Kind of small?
I was still small. I was probably still the smallest one out there.
Was the quickness, would that help you when you?
Yeah, quickness did help me. And at that time, I had a nose for the ball. I would get on the ball. So and I used that, and pretty much even when I went to a goal line defense, they would put me on the edge, and I would just come off the edge and just scrape down and try to find the ball.
Find the ball.
So that's all I did when it came to goal line. Yeah.
Then you went over. You went over to Bethel.
Went over to Bethel as a ninth grader.
Right.
They had stopped junior high football, and ninth grade was still in the ninth graders were still in the junior highs. They weren't in high schools as they are now.
Yeah.
So we left Davis because I was going to Davis, and we caught a bus, and the bus took us over to Bethel. And,
okay. So you played JV. So
played JV
as a ninth grader. And who was your coach back then?
Coach Isley. Was my coach, yes.
Yeah.
When we got over there, it's kind of small guy still, and we meet different people playing over there. And of course, you had 10th graders that were already there, so we had to come out there and kind of earn a position.
Right.
So it was me, Inko, another guy, Vann, Brian Taylor. We all went over there and as ninth graders and played over there.
Played on the JV team that year. And then you went to the varsity as a sophomore?
Yes, on the sophomore year, I went up to the varsity as a 10th grader. Then the second scrimmage game was at Highland Springs.
Yeah, I think it was Coach Rinaldi, if I can remember, because Kaz liked to go up to Highland Springs. That was kind of an annual thing.
That was an annual thing. Yeah, it was an annual thing. Even up to when I graduated, we still scrimmage Highland Springs every year. We scrimmaged them, and I was ran an option outside. I kept the ball, and I turned up field, and the guy hit me on the sideline, and landed on my shoulder.
Broke your shoulder, collarbone.
Broke my collarbone. So I got up and I kind of shook it off. I was like, wow, that kind of hurt. And I went back to the huddle, and the play came back in, and it was a pass play. And I was like, I don't know. So I actually went through the motions when I went to try to pull the ball up, couldn't get it up. So I kind of ate the ball, and so I had to come out. I went out after I actually played additional play.
Right, so you must have been out for a few weeks then.
I was out for 7 weeks. And the funny part about it, Dr. White was our doctor. And I went to the doctor that evening before a game, was playing Phoebus that night. And he said, well, it's healed, still give it a little time and all, and you should be okay. So we're playing Phoebus, and we got up for the game, and Coach Carl looked at me, he said, you good, you can play, right? I said, yeah, coach, I can play. And Dr. White was on the sideline, and I ran out there, and it's funny, when I came back, I looked at him on the last series, when I come off the field, and he's like shaking his head. I said, I just had to get in there. So I was able to, to get me some playing time. Pretty much the season, a lot of games had gone by, but I was able to get a few games in there.
Well, see, a lot of people I've talked to said, back then, before Bill D took over Phoebus, that was kind of a walkthrough. I mean, as far as you knew you were going to win that game, but they were one of the hardest hitting teams you ever ran into.
Phoebus, even though at that time, I know now they're getting their due, but at that time, their records didn't speak for their capabilities.
Right.
They had a lot of good athletes on their team that come through there. Guy named Ray Savage, my cousin Todd Lattimore, to mention a few names. Those guys Goo Tolliver, his son plays for Phoebus now as a quarterback.
Right.
These guys were outstanding athletes and just didn't get their due recognized.
This is something new. That you played, that you knew the Tolliver.
Yeah,
played at Phoebus.
Goo. Yeah.
Goo?
Yeah, Goo.
I don't know if I can call him that.
Played against him even doing it regularly.
His son is TT.
Yeah. Good athlete. Didn't get a lot of didn't recognize like he should have, but were good athletes.
Now, when you were at Bethel, you had Coach Bouchard help you with your techniques and everything, because he was the backfield coach?
Yeah, Boo was a backfield coach. Boo was mechanics, down to the mechanics of playing the quarterback position from an option to your fakes and all. He really taught me a lot fundamentally that I was able to take on further on in me coaching and becoming a coach later on in my career. But Boo was real tickler on just the little teeny things, and it really paid off when it came to mechanics. If you go back and look at tapes when Boo was coaching and look at the quarterbacks, we pretty much all had the same flow because those moments of him just on the fundamentals of the mechanics of the football.
Talk a little bit about Kozlowski. You played with him for 3 years. And
exactly.
I had Mike Mike London in here. And Mike said, I said, well, you were at Tab before you went to Bethel. He said, yeah, Koz recruited me. Oh, my bad, Koz. But that was, he said, we used to imitate him. Everybody had their way to imitate Koz in the locker room, but I don't know if you guys did the same thing.
Everybody did. Everybody imitated Koz. Good guy. Didn't realize how good of a guy he was after he got older as an adult, because you could appreciate the stuff that he was saying, because I can hear him now. The stuff that he went through back then is still in my ear that I use in my daily life, in my daily work. But talking to some of the guys, like Sean Gale, Todd Kelly, all these guys played in the NFL. Sturtevant. One thing you can ask them about what they get from Bethel High School, and they'll tell you if you made it through a Kozlowski two-a-day in practice, you can make it anywhere. NFL, military, whatever you wanted to go. If you made it through that, you could do anything. And I didn't realize, that until, but to hear it from those guys who went on to those other levels was real special.
Right. Yeah. Then you graduated and you go to HU, but it's a recruiting process, a little different now. Talk about what you went through.
Recruiting then, I got caught up in the SAT era.
Okay.
So
that was the first year they started doing the SATs?
Yes, there was a mandated qualification. You had to have a certain score. I think it was 700 was a mandated score. So it took a different take on how we had study sessions. We had, folks to try to help us with the SATs and all. I luckily got 1100 on the first shot, so I didn't have some of the problems.
You didn't have to worry about it again.
Yeah, I didn't have problems some other guys had, but some of the guys had problems with we had getting that 700, but they, made it on. And then recruiting wise, it was a little more of an open door with the coaches and even the visits.
But they don't have that now. Right.
No, it's a little tighter now.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Now you get over there, you go out, and then you get hurt, and that's the end of your career.
Yeah, I started looking at the coaching aspects of football, and really enjoyed when I worked with Coach Koz and all, and wanted to get back into coaching.
Became a student of the game?
Became a student again. I still say that now. If you'll be a good coach, you always got to be a student. You got to be a student because you always got to be able to absorb the knowledge and not think
and
you have all
changes.
knowledge. And it changes.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to be up with the game, how it's changing, and the philosophy and all. And also able to be in tune with the kids because the kids change as the year goes by too. So you got to be a student all the time.
All right, so you graduated from HU. What did you get your degree in?
In management and finance.
Okay. But you still had the burning inside to be around football.
Exactly. Ended up going coaching Aberdeen, had started the league up again. Ended up going and coaching. And I coached with some good guys like Gary Moore, Stanley Mann, David Walters. These guys were outstanding coaches, you know, and being around them, and they're putting in their time with the youth.
Okay, so now when you're doing this, you have to work.
Oh yeah,
because this is not paying you the bills.
No,
but
exactly.
you went into like with the family business and then the shipyard.
Worked the family business for a while, and did that, and then eventually going on work at the shipyard. Right. And now I work for the Navy.
Okay. Well, we'll get with that in just a minute. But the coaching at the rec league, who were some of the people you had? You remember?
Some of the kids?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because they'd go to Bethel?
Some of them did, yeah. Some of them going to Bethel. Of course, you got Allen Iverson. Wow, you got, I can think of a lot of names.
Kelly, the Kelly kid that was a pretty good receiver for him.
Yeah, Kelly kid. He didn't play for me, but he did
Kelly
play for Rogers.
Yeah, Rogers,
he didn't play for me. I can't think of all. There's been so many that came through there.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but I know the coaching it just really helped you. And then all of a sudden, you go over and you volunteer with Kaz over Bethel.
Yeah, I went back over in 94, and started working with Kaz, kind of like a part-time thing, helping out over there, and then worked out with him for a couple of years doing that, and then he eventually asked me to take the JV program, so I took the JV program.
When he said take it, that means you're going to be the head.
Be a head coach.
Head coach of the JVs.
Yes, exactly, and really enjoyed that. I got away because I was helping more on the varsity side. When the JV program pretty much came, my program, and I was able to do pretty well. Then the thing about it, I brought in some other coaches with me, and the funny part, they're Hampton High, ex-Hampton High folks. Woodrow Wilson. He came and coached with me. Simon.
I didn't know Woodrow went over. I know he'd been at Hampton.
Yeah, Woodrow came over there with me, and Simon Gupton, and even Rodney Howard.
How about that? Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Rodney Howard. Now, a lot of people don't realize how good a runner he was, but he almost broke Springs' record up in Lafayette.
Yes, Rodney back in high school, he averaged like over 200 yards a game. And you get Rodney is only like 5'7", 5'8" at the most, and was probably weighing 125, 130 pounds back then.
Quick.
But very quick. He was very quick. And Rodney got into the job by accident. We were scrimmaging Highland Springs, and Rodney's kind of quiet, you know, not really a laid-back type of guy. And Darren Fullwood was running the ball at tailback, and he had broke his arm, and this was that full swing, and we weren't getting all we can get out of him. And Kaz was like, you know, just pounding the sideline. And matter of fact, I even said, "Coach, we got Rodney. And he said, "Rodney, get in there, Rodney." You know, Kaz, get in there. He went in there, and I think the first touch of the ball, Rodney was like 35, 40 yards on the first touch. And from that point on, it was his job. I mean, he turned the whole game around at that point in time. And some of the moves that he was doing, you see some of these guys in the NFL doing. And he took the job at that point. He became the tailback, and Darren moved to fullback. Okay. But in that point, he went on to do
And this was the guy that played tackle with you, or
play guard with me, yeah. So it was a long way from playing on the line to run the ball. And then one of the top running backs in the state of Virginia.
Well, then they had a shake-up of coaching over Bethel.
Yep.
Kaz leaves.
Yes.
But you don't want to give up. You know, where am I going to go and run into who?
Run into Coach Smith. Yeah, ran into Coach Smith and was just talking to him casually, and just talking about it. At that point in time, everybody was, churning about cars and the program and all. And I said, well, I'm kind of available and looking to go on some other places. And he told me to come talk to him at the school one day and see what we could work out. And went and talked to him, and ended up going over to Hampton and coaching over there.
So you was had a JV over
yes,
there? Yes,
JV. The first year I wasn't head JV coach, but the second year I ended up becoming head JV coach and working with a few years over there as a head JV
Who was your quarterback?
I guess now we would talk about Tyrod.
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod was the last year I coached over. Tyrod was my quarterback, and Tyrod was, as he is now, an outstanding young man back then, and it was good coaching him and some other guys that were around him, and seeing what they're doing now. That's a good feeling.
Definitely, right?
Yeah, good feeling.
Well, then just like anything else, your job sometimes gets in the way. You have children. You want to spend some time, so you got away from the coaching a little bit. Yeah,
I got away having kids and all, and ended up coaching still a little soccer. Soccer, yeah. Coached a little basketball and a little soccer. And I didn't know anything about soccer, other than what you learn, in school, kicking the ball.
That's about it. You just don't use your hands.
Yeah, don't use your hands. There's a funny story about it because I ended up getting a book and reading on soccer, soccer drills and all. And I had two of my younger kids, my daughter and my son, were on the team together, a co-ed team. And it's a funny story. We had a game, and my daughter, every time she got the ball, this kid would kind of bully the ball away from her, rough her up and take the ball. And she said, "Dad, he keeps roughing me up and taking the ball." And I started thinking, I said, what can we do? I said, and I always play around the kids and show them different techniques. And I remember I was showing the kids about how to do your forearm shiver, we used to call it. Come up. And I said, well, next time he comes to do that to you, just throw a forearm shiver in his chest. Not thinking she would explode and do it, and she actually broke down in a quarter eagle and hit him. Didn't think about the ball and knocked the kid out. We had to stop the game. So I'm looking, and we had some of the moms that were sitting on. They was like a little clap because
it was a girl.
It was a girl, and he kind of needed that because he was bullying the girls around.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was funny. I was like, wow, yeah, my daughter just actually broke down a quarter eagle and delivered a blow.
Well, I know you want to get back into coaching.
Yes.
And we're going to kind of wrap this thing up, but I want you to talk about the football camps.
Okay.
And then how sports have helped you in your life and the job you have with the. You actually work with the Navy. You're not being paid by the Navy. You're like a consultant.
No, I actually work for the Navy. I work
okay.
I'm a
but
civil
you're not
servant.
in the Navy.
No, I'm not in the Navy. No, exactly. I'm a civil servant working for the government.
Okay.
A lot of the principles I gained from playing, at Bethel and even up to the college level, kind of helped me in my daily job. Learn the desire, the discipline, the determination that you have to have on any aspect to try to be successful. So it really, really helps out. So, seeing some of the problems you may have on a job, you kind of think back of, how you make the approach to solving it. And then always go back to those fundamental skills of just, the discipline, desire, and I call it the 4 Ds, as Cos used to say back in the day, the 4 Ds. And that helps a lot, of getting over a lot of the problems you may have on the job. And, in advancement also in your job.
Right. Well, appreciate you coming.
Yeah. Okay. It was a pleasure.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSE and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Terry Vann. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Till next time.